The memory of meeting Emma Carter 3 years ago lingers vividly, as if it happened just yesterday. Back then, my world was in chaos. My apartment felt like a drowning heart, flooded by the careless actions of the man above, who left his bathtub running, lost in his own world. Water cascaded from the ceiling, drenching my belongings, leaving me no option but to seek refuge at James's place while the repairs lingered. It felt like a twist of fate, sharing his space, where unspoken feelings danced in the air between us. That's when she stepped into my life, Emma, his little sister. As I sank into the worn cushions of James's couch, nursing a lukewarm beer and drowning in my own regrets, she appeared like a whisper of hope, her presence igniting something forbidden within me. She was breathtaking, her long dark hair cascading around her shoulders, those bright green eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief, and that confident smile that stole my breath away, leaving my heart racing. She slipped into the room like a secret, captivating everyone with a glance that felt both thrilling and dangerous. "You must be the flood victim," she said, her voice playful yet tender, and I couldn't help but laugh, even though I knew I shouldn't. She settled beside me, her warmth brushing against my skin, and began to ask about my shattered apartment, my job, my life, as if my story mattered to her. It was intoxicating, that feeling of being the sole focus of her attention. We connected in a way that felt both thrilling and dangerous. In just a week, our messages flowed like a secret river, and by the month's end, we were entwined in something beautiful yet precarious. Emma had an enchanting allure, a gravity that drew everyone in, making it impossible to look away. At gatherings, she was the heart of the crowd, laughter spilling from her lips, her hands dancing through the air as she shared her stories. They surrounded her, drinks in hand, captivated by her every word. I stood back, a mix of pride and unease swirling within me. She was just being herself. I reassured my heart, even as it whispered of something more. She craves the spotlight, yet her heart is tethered to mine. To the world, we appear flawless, me, the reliable partner with a steady job, and her, the radiant beauty who brightens every space. I'd whisk her away to candlelit dinners, intertwine our fingers, and in those moments, it felt like I had captured something extraordinary, something that was never truly ours to keep. She'd lean in close, her breath warm against my ear as she shared a secret joke, and in that moment, I felt it. This was the dream everyone longs for. Yet, even then, a small voice lingered in my mind, soft yet persistent, questioning why she craved the attention of every gaze around her. I turned a blind eye. Love has a way of clouding your judgment. Those early months were a whirlwind of thrilling moments. She would arrive at my door, bringing takeout and a bottle of wine, and we'd lose ourselves in conversation for hours. There was something about her, a magnetic allure that made me feel like I was the only one that mattered in her world. But in hindsight, I realized it was never truly genuine. She teased the waiters right before my eyes, brushing off my frowns with laughter. "Relax, babe, it's just playful," she'd insist, and I'd swallow my hurt, letting it slide. She would cancel plans at the last moment, leaving me in a haze of anticipation. But then she'd turn to me with that radiant smile, and all my frustration would melt away. I convinced myself it was okay. She was vibrant, unpredictable, everything I was not. There was something about her that drew me in, a spark that felt almost dangerous. I thought I appreciated it, or maybe I just wanted to believe it. Others would say I was fortunate, that Emma was truly unique, and I would smile, my heart racing, because deep down, I knew they were right. That magnetic pull she had, it wasn't just for me. It was for everyone, and deep down, I think I knew that from the start. I'd lie awake sometimes, listening to her breathe next to me, questioning if I was truly enough for someone like her. She was always in pursuit, seeking thrills and fleeting moments, while I remained the quiet anchor, the one who kept everything steady. Yet, in those stolen nights, when she curled up beside me, her warmth would chase away my uncertainties, if only for a heartbeat. She picked me. I would whisper to myself, among all, she stands by my side. And for a fleeting moment, that was everything. 3 years ago, our paths crossed, and I believed she was the one destined to share my life. I thought I understood her. The sound of her laughter, her little idiosyncrasies, the spark in her eyes when she spoke of her dreams. Yet now, as I reflect, I see that I never truly knew her at all. I saw only what my heart yearned for, and that was where everything went wrong. In hindsight, the warnings were clear, glaring at me, yet I was too enraptured by Emma to notice. From the start, she had a way of making my moments feel insignificant, as if I were merely a shadow, lingering until she decided to grace me with her presence. Our first real date feels like a dream I can't quite grasp. I sat at that quaint Italian restaurant, the one adorned with red checkered tablecloths, glancing at my watch every few moments. I arrived early, heart racing, dressed in the shirt I had carefully ironed just for her. She was meant to arrive at 6:30, but as the clock struck 7, an unsettling emptiness filled the air, and she was still nowhere to be seen. I reached out, but silence hung in the air. When she finally appeared at 7:20, her hair tousled as if she had just woken up, she wore a smile that made everything else fade away, as if nothing mattered at all. "I'm sorry, babe. I got caught up with Ava," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I wanted to feel anger, but then she reached over, squeezed my hand, and began sharing her day as if everything was perfectly fine. I couldn't help but let it go. Love is a delicate dance, I reminded myself, taking a sip of water and forcing a nod. But it wasn't just a fleeting moment. She was always late, dinners, movies, even my birthday celebration once. Each time, my heart ached just a little more. Each time, I found myself waiting, heart racing, feeling foolish. Yet, I couldn't help but forgive her. The thought of losing her was unbearable. Then there was her job situation, a glaring warning I chose to ignore. Emma poured her heart into marketing, chasing the thrill of creativity, but each time she found herself in a new role, the spark faded too quickly. 3 months of hope, then silence, leaving her longing for something more, something that felt just out of reach. She'd burst through the door, her heart racing as she vented about her boss, a man who couldn't see the brilliance she held. I'd watch her pace, the fire in her eyes igniting the room, her voice rising with each word as she tore into those who failed to recognize her worth. "They're all fools," she'd declare, flipping her hair with a defiance that made my heart ache. Knowing she deserved so much more, I'd nod, my heart aching for her, trying to soothe her with gentle words, maybe urging her to hold on a little longer. "But you don't see it." She'd lash out, and I'd retreat, feeling the weight of unspoken feelings between us. Once, she lost her job for failing to meet a crucial deadline. She pointed fingers at her team, claiming they had betrayed her. I longed to question her logic, but the words never escaped my lips. I had just covered the rent that month when her share went missing. A warning sign? Absolutely. Did I choose to overlook it? Without a doubt. The most painful part was the way she spoke of others, always with a biting edge. She would send me lengthy messages, pouring out her heart. Yet half of them were filled with venomous critiques of those around her. Her best friend, Ava? Just a jealous, insecure loser, she'd write, her disdain cutting through the pixels like a knife. Her parents? Just shadows in her life, never achieving anything worth mentioning. She'd chuckle, as if it were all a grand joke. Her old bosses, her coworkers, even random strangers, each one a target for her sharp tongue and biting wit. In the quiet of the night, I'd find myself drawn to those messages, the screen illuminating my face as a knot tightened in my stomach. Just her letting it all out, I'd remind myself, as I scrolled through the sharp words that cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Yet, beneath it all, I sensed something was off. One moment, she'd be laughing with Ava, embracing her as if they shared an unbreakable bond, and the next, she'd be tearing her apart to me. It was as if she wore a mask for the world, revealing a hidden truth only when she believed no one significant was watching. I should have known that if she spoke of them that way, she must have whispered similar things about me when I wasn't there. That realization would creep in during the quiet hours of the night, but I'd shove it aside. She loves me, I would tell myself, She would never betray me, or so I thought. How foolish I was, lost in my own dreams. The signs were all around me. The missed calls, her inability to hold on to anything, the way she tore others apart without a second thought. They were all shouting for me to see the truth, but I remained in the dark. As I sat there, captivated by her laughter, her eyes sparkled with a wildness that drew me in. I felt a mix of gratitude and longing, knowing I was fortunate to be near someone so vibrant, even if her presence sometimes made me feel insignificant. I would bend, I would wait, I would listen, because love demands that kind of surrender, doesn't it? A quiet ache lingered, a reminder of the delicate balance between desire and restraint. You weave your justifications, convincing yourself that everything is okay, even when your heart knows it isn't. In hindsight, the truth shines through, illuminating the shadows of what once was. Each missed moment, every opportunity slipping away, every harsh word she cast like shadows. The warnings were clear from the start. I just chose to ignore them. By our second year together, I began to feel the weight of Emma's lavish lifestyle pressing down on me, and deep down, I knew it was my own doing. She had a way of drawing me into a world of luxury I had never imagined, with designer bags that whispered secrets I couldn't quite grasp, dining in lavish restaurants where prices were a secret, spontaneous getaways to shores kissed by white sand and azure waves. In the beginning, it felt thrilling. She drew me into her vibrant world, where everything sparkled with excitement, and I felt alive, like I belonged. But soon, the weight of reality crashed down. The bills began to stack up, and I found myself carrying the burden alone. I had a steady job, but it felt like I was losing her in the process. It was just a mundane desk job, a means to survive. But Emma? She was a whirlwind, her money slipping through her fingers like sand. She'd splurge on the latest trends or wild nights, then look at me with those enchanting green eyes and whisper, "Babe, can you help me out this time? I promise I'll repay you." I always said yes, even when my heart whispered no. I was the one who held everything together, the steady hand in a storm. I convinced myself it was just a phase, that she would find her way back to me. But deep down, I knew it was more complicated than that. But she never did. Then came the car situation, and that's when I should have stood my ground. Emma had this dream, one she shared endlessly, of owning a Mercedes-Benz C-Class. She'd share photos on her phone, silver and sleek, her voice drifting into a dreamy whisper. "It's not just a car," she'd insist. "It's a declaration." Her old beater, that rusty sedan which wheezed to life each time, finally surrendered one rainy afternoon. I was at work when her voice broke through, trembling and filled with despair. "It's over, babe. I'm alone. What am I supposed to do?" I promised her we'd find a solution, something practical yet dependable. But her heart was captured by that Mercedes. Suddenly, we were at the dealership, her excitement palpable as she traced her fingers over the sleek, glistening hood of that car. "Text, this is it," she said, her smile lighting up the room. "This is the one." I glanced at the price tag, a number far beyond her reach, and truthfully, more than I was ready to confront. But she pressed on. "I need this, love. It'll make me feel whole again. You want me to be happy, don't you?" She drew closer, her voice a gentle whisper, and I couldn't resist. We figured out alone, but her credit was a mess from all those impulsive buys over the years. So, I signed my name beside hers, knowing the risks but unable to say no. It was a moment heavy with unspoken words, as I found myself stepping in to help with the monthly payments. Her new job hadn't quite taken off, and there we were, sitting at our small kitchen table. She looked so earnest, her fingers clutching the coffee mug like it held all her hopes. "Once I land something stable, I'll pay you back," she vowed. And in that instant, I couldn't help but believe her, even as a part of me knew the weight of what we were crossing. I longed to trust her. I'd smile and agree, no hurry, even as the weight of my dwindling bank account pressed down. Rent, groceries, my own car, and now hers as well. Some nights, I found myself awake, lost in the glow of my laptop, shifting numbers in a desperate dance. She lay just beyond the wall, blissfully unaware, while I grappled with the weight of my choices. It wasn't merely about the money. It was the way she embraced the ordinary, as if everything was perfectly fine. It felt like I was bound to her in a way I couldn't escape. She'd stroll in with a new handbag, a luxurious piece that overshadowed my modest living. I questioned her, "How did you manage that?" Her laughter would dance in the air, playful and teasing, as she spun it around, whispering, "Don't worry about it, babe, it's an investment." An investment in what? The truth always lingered just out of reach, leaving me yearning for answers that never came. Yet, I would smile, press my lips to her forehead, and let it slip away, for arguing seemed more burdensome than simply accepting it. I began to sacrifice my own joys to ensure hers continued. No more lunches with the guys from work. Just a simple sandwich from home. No new clothes for me, even as my shoes began to show their age. Meanwhile, she shared her life online, posing with that sleek Mercedes or sipping cocktails at a rooftop bar, radiating a perfection I could only dream of. They would say we were perfect, living a fairy tale, and I'd be caught in a whirlwind of joy and fear. Joy because she belonged to me, fear because I was struggling to keep her afloat. I convinced myself it was love, that this was the sacrifice you make for someone who means everything to you. Each time I swiped my card for her, each time I surrendered when I longed to resist, I felt fragments of my soul fade into the shadows. Her promise to repay me was my only anchor, a fragile hope I grasped tightly. 2 years later, I remained in that suspended moment, still waiting. Our third anniversary was meant to be perfect, a moment to cherish after everything we'd been through. I had envisioned it for weeks, wanting to create something unforgettable for Emma, who often teased me about my lack of romance. La Reverie was the chosen spot, an elegant restaurant she had longed to visit, with its soft lighting and pristine tablecloths, a place where even the air felt precious. I had planned this for weeks, saving every penny, even treating myself to a fresh haircut just for her. Dressed in that dark blue suit she once said made me dangerously handsome, I caught my reflection and felt a thrill of confidence. Arriving at the restaurant right on time, my heart raced with a mix of nerves and anticipation. The host guided me to a cozy table by the window, where the city lights twinkled like distant stars. I settled in, imagining her entrance, that familiar smile lighting up her face just as it once did. I longed to see her reaction to the care I had taken. But as the clock struck 7:30, my heart sank. She was still absent. I grabbed my phone, fingers trembling as I typed a simple message. "Hey, you on your way?" Then I turned it face down, heart racing. It was nothing, really, just her usual delay, but the anticipation felt electric, almost wrong. I took a sip of my water, glancing at the couples around me, their laughter ringing in my ears like a bittersweet melody. I kept telling myself she would arrive any moment now. The waiter approached, inquiring if I wanted to order something while I waited. "Not yet," I replied, my smile a fragile mask hiding the ache inside. She was supposed to be here any minute. But as 8 p.m. ticked by, my heart sank with each passing second. I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. Her cheerful voice echoed in my mind. "Hey, it's Emma. Leave a message." I hung up, my heart constricting painfully. I gazed at the vacant chair opposite me, the candlelight dancing between us, and a heavy weight settled in my chest. I should have walked away, taken my coat and stepped into the night, but something held me back. I lingered, a fool clinging to a moment that was slipping away. By 9 p.m., the waitstaff cast those knowing glances, soft and full of pity, as if I were a lost soul. One of them refilled my water without a word, and I muttered a thank you, my cheeks aflame with embarrassment. I sat there, heart racing, glancing at my phone every few minutes, hoping for a message. Maybe she was caught in some unforeseen trouble, or perhaps fate was just playing its cruel game. I told myself I could wait a little longer, just for her, just this once. The restaurant buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, a world alive with joy, while I remained still, clutching a fragile hope. Then, at 10 p.m., the doors burst open, and there she stood, Emma, at last. But she was not by herself. 3 of her friends followed, laughter spilling from their lips, cheeks rosy as if they'd been sipping secrets elsewhere. She caught my eye, waved casually, and sauntered over, her entourage in tow. "Hey, babe," she said, settling into the chair opposite me as if the 3-hour wait had been nothing at all. Her friends, Noah, a girl with pink hair, and another I didn't know, suddenly filled the space around us, pulling up extra chairs and laughing too loudly. It felt like they were stealing our moment, their joy a stark contrast to the tension between us. I couldn't take my eyes off her, my heart racing, searching for the right words that seemed to slip away like a forbidden secret. "You're late," I managed to say, but she just shrugged, a hint of mischief in her eyes. "Yeah, we hit a bar first. Time slipped away from us." It's a familiar ache. I sat there, heart heavy, while she danced through the night, lost in her world, leaving me in silence without a word. Before I could utter another word, she leaned back, a smirk playing on her lips, and declared it for all to hear. "See? I told you he'd still be here, like a lost puppy." Her friends erupted in laughter, a sharp, cruel sound that pierced my heart. Noah, that infuriatingly charming guy with the ridiculous earring, flashed a grin my way and said, "Damn, she wasn't kidding. You're trained real good." The girl with pink hair stifled a laugh, while the other one erupted into a fit of giggles, as if it was the most hilarious thing in the world. I sat there, frozen, my hands tight beneath the table, acutely aware of every gaze in the room. Emma laughed, her hair cascading like a trophy, reveling in her moment. I watched her, the woman I had adored for 3 long years, the one I had dressed up for and waited for. And in that instant, I glimpsed something I had never allowed myself to acknowledge before. She wasn't merely late. It felt like she was shattering my heart in front of everyone. And the worst part was, she seemed utterly indifferent to the pain she caused. The night I had imagined crumbled with her words, leaving me frozen in place, a helpless spectator to my own heartbreak. When Emma called me a pathetic puppy, silence enveloped me. I didn't shout, didn't throw anything, and I masked the pain that twisted inside me like a cruel blade. Her friends' laughter echoed through the restaurant, a carefree melody that contrasted sharply with the tension in my chest. She sat there, a playful smirk on her lips, sipping the cocktail Noah had chosen for her, as if this were all just a game. Heat rushed to my cheeks, shame clawing at me, but I held it all inside. I wouldn't let her see how deeply she affected me, how much I wanted to shatter this facade. The waiter lingered nearby, his gaze flickering between us, perhaps questioning the chaos unfolding at our table. I met his eyes, offering a brief, tight smile, and said, "Another drink, please." My voice held a steady calm, masking the tempest of emotions swirling beneath the surface, as if I were just another patron savoring the night. He nodded and hurried away, leaving me with Emma and her chaotic world. My heart raced, questioning my presence in this moment. Why was I still here, enduring this? They continued ordering appetizers, tiny plates of shrimp and cheesy bread, laughing and chatting as if I were invisible. Emma hardly glanced my way, too absorbed in Noah's silly jokes and preening for the pink-haired girl's Instagram story. As I gazed at her, truly gazed, a wave of realization crashed over me. This was no longer love. Not in the way it once was. Perhaps it never existed at all. She transformed our anniversary into her performance, and I was merely a pawn, a foolish, heartbroken pawn for her amusement, a way to elevate her own image. My drink arrived, a whiskey on the rocks, and I savored the slow burn as it slid down my throat. "You okay, babe?" she asked, her voice a mix of playful and indifferent. I nodded, murmured a quick, "Yeah, fine," and watched as she turned away, dismissing me once more. In that moment, I realized I was finished. Not just with the night, but with her. Every part of her. I held my breath, waiting for the perfect moment. Amid their playful bickering over the last shrimp, I quietly pushed my chair back and stood. "Be right back," I said, my voice light, masking the storm within. I walked toward the restroom sign, each step steady, though my heart raced with a mix of excitement and something unspoken. I slipped past the bathroom door, my heart racing as I moved through the kitchen, feeling the weight of a curious gaze on me. I pushed through the back exit, the cool night air wrapping around me like a secret. I didn't pause. I didn't dare to look back. The street lay still, a soft murmur of cars and the faint pulse of the city in the background. I took a deep breath and dialed. James answered on the second ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, as if I had disturbed a fragile moment. "Pick me up in 10, I whispered, giving him the cross streets just a block from La Reverie. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. "Yeah, just come get me," I replied, my heart racing. He didn't push back. James never did when I sounded like this. I hung up and leaned against the cool brick wall, anticipation swirling in the air around me. I stood there, hands buried deep in my pockets, the warmth of whiskey still lingering in my chest. I pulled up Emma's number on my phone, my thumb hovering over it, memories flooding back of all the times I had reached out, waited, and longed for her to feel the same. With a heavy heart, I pressed block. Just like that. No grand farewell, no lingering words, simply vanished. James's battered truck appeared moments later, its headlights slicing through the night. I climbed in, slamming the door behind me, and his gaze met mine, eyebrows arched in question. "You gonna tell me what's up?" he asked, steering back onto the road. I turned my eyes to the window, the city lights streaking by, and whispered, "Not yet." He nodded, cranked up the radio, and drove on. I didn't feel liberated. Not in that moment, not with her words haunting me, but I felt something deeper. A sense of determination, perhaps. It felt like I had finally crossed a line I should have crossed long ago. Leaving that restaurant was quiet, almost reverent, yet it marked the end of everything we once were. But I couldn't stop. Not yet. As I sat in James's truck, my thoughts whirled, connecting the fragments of our secret. Every penny I'd poured into her, every deceit I'd swallowed, every game she'd played with my heart. It couldn't just end with me fading into the shadows. She'd brought me to my knees, yes, but I held on to the weight of her careless whispers and shattered vows, ready to unleash them. I wasn't sure how it would unfold, but one truth burned bright within me. Emma Carter was about to feel the weight of her choices. She had crafted her world on my sacrifices, and now I was ready to watch it all crumble. Silently, deliberately, but utterly. James dropped me off, and I whispered my thanks, a promise hanging in the air for later. As I stepped inside, the lights flickered on, illuminating the emptiness around me. I sank onto the couch, lost in thought, replaying the night. The sound of her laughter, Noah's teasing grin, the waiter's sympathetic gaze. Yet, somehow, it all felt like a bittersweet ache that wouldn't shatter me. It ignited something deep within me. She saw me as just a playful pup? Fine. This pup was ready to show her a different side. That night, after James dropped me off, sleep eluded me. My mind was a whirlwind, echoing Emma's laughter, her teasing jab that felt like a dagger, and the way her friends laughed as if I were invisible. I sank into the shadows of my couch, the soft glow of my laptop illuminating the weight of my decision. This time I wouldn't turn away. 3 years of supporting her, and now I was ready to unravel everything we had built together. She had crafted her perfect world with my resources, my understanding, my quiet acceptance, and I could no longer stand by. I took a beer from the fridge, opened it with a sharp snap, and began my search, sifting through every fragment of her life I could touch. It was no longer about the chaos of confrontation. It was about uncovering the truth beneath the surface. It was about striking a blow that would leave her breathless, unexpected and chilling, like a shadow creeping in the night. The first target was her beloved car, that precious Mercedes she had longed for. I had foolishly signed on the dotted line, and even more foolishly continued to pay when her dreams of stability crumbled away. I logged into my bank account, my heart racing as I navigated to the autopay setup. There it was, $1.45 a month, quietly slipping from my checking to hers, keeping that car alive. I called the bank's 24-hour line, enduring the frustrating hold music, until a weary voice finally answered on the other end. Text. I have to tell you something, I said, my heart racing. I shared how I felt trapped, forced to help her with her loan, while she never kept her word. I can't do it anymore, I told him, my resolve shaking. He asked a few questions, typed away, and mentioned it would be flagged for review. By morning, her payment would fail, and that car would be one heartbeat closer to being taken away. I leaned back, took a swig of beer, and felt a bittersweet thrill wash over me. She cherished that object, flaunting it as if it defined her worth. I couldn't wait to see her reaction when the tow truck arrived. Then, I picked up my phone and began to sift through countless voice messages from her, each one a bittersweet echo of what we once shared. I keep them all, not just out of laziness, but because they felt precious. Emma had this way of pouring her heart out to me, long, winding messages where she'd tear apart everyone around her. I pressed play on one from last year, her voice cutting through the silence like a whisper of secrets. My boss is insufferable, strutting around like he owns the place just because of that corner office. I could outshine him without even trying. And then there's Ava, my best friend, who always seems to be caught in the middle of it all. She's so lost, tears spilling over a love that slipped away, as if the world could ever understand. Move on, they say. And then there's the bitterness about her parents, her voice heavy with disdain. They were mistakes, each one a reminder of how lost I felt. I listened, my heart aching, recognizing the truth I had ignored for too long. She had shared so much with me, believing I would never act on it, never see the depth of what lay between us. She had no idea. I connected my phone to my laptop, transferring every file, each one a piece of her hidden world, all neatly tucked away in a folder called Emma's Truth. This was only the beginning. Then there was her work email. She'd borrowed my laptop a few times when hers crashed, and, to my surprise, she was still logged in. I hesitated before clicking into her inbox, half expecting it to be locked. But there it was, all her messages laid bare before me. Amidst the mundane marketing pitches and endless meeting invites, I stumbled upon something electrifying. She had been weaving her own secret world, using her company account for personal schemes, emails about a side hustle she had never shared with me, peddling overpriced skincare to her friends. But it was the chats with a coworker that struck me hardest, where she called their boss a spineless creep and boasted about her carefree slacking off. It felt like a glimpse into a hidden life, one that both thrilled and terrified me. I captured every moment, my heart racing as I imagined her reaction when the truth surfaced. I didn't know how I would wield this power yet. Perhaps a discreet message to her HR, but it was mine, and that was all that mattered. By dawn, the first piece began to crumble. My phone buzzed at dawn. Emma's name lit up the screen, a name I'd tried to forget. She must have known the payment had slipped through the cracks. I let it ring out, then saw a message flash from an unknown number. What's happening with the car? Call me. I erased it without a second thought. The bank should have reached out by now, and I could almost feel her anxiety, the way she'd be pacing in her pristine little sanctuary, the edges of her perfect life beginning to fray. I rose, stretched, and gazed out my window at the muted dawn spilling over the city. This was far from finished, not even close. For years, I had let her dictate my every move, but now the tables had turned. Her car, her job, her carefully crafted facade. I was ready to unravel it all, slowly and deliberately. The fall of Emma Carter was imminent, and I was poised to watch it unfold. I woke up to my phone buzzing relentlessly, 78 missed calls from Emma, each one a reminder of the chaos that had unfolded since I'd fallen asleep around 4 a.m. My head throbbed, still reeling from the night's whirlwind, but those notifications ignited a spark within me. She was in distress, and I hadn't even begun to unravel the depths of it all. I stumbled out of bed, clutching a coffee, and sank into the solitude of my kitchen table, surrounded by the chaos she had left behind. Voicemails, frantic texts from unfamiliar numbers. She must have borrowed someone else's phone after I shut her out. Each message dripped with urgency, a plea that tugged at my heart. Babe, what's happening with the car? Why aren't you answering? This isn't funny, call me. I stayed silent. Not a single word escaped my lips. I took a slow sip of my coffee, watching her simmer in her thoughts, aware that each moment of silence was another fracture in her flawless facade. She had laughed at me, her friends joining in the cruel chorus, and now the consequences were unfolding. This was only the start. I couldn't resist the urge to send that voice clip, the one where she called her boss a spineless creep, to an email I had stumbled upon in her work inbox. She was just a coworker, someone I'd crossed paths with before, but I couldn't resist the urge to include her boss in the mix. It was all so simple, so anonymous, no way to trace it back to me. Just a forwarded file with a subject line that held a secret. But oh, the thrill of it all. By noon, my phone pinged with a new text from her. What did you do? I just got fired. I could almost see her, wide-eyed and frantic, yelling at her phone, perhaps hurling something in frustration across her apartment. She was already walking a tightrope at that job, always late, always grumbling, and now she'd given me the perfect reason to send her tumbling. I felt no remorse, not a trace. For years, she had trampled on hearts, and now her own words echoed back, haunting her. I erased the message, but the weight of it lingered. Next, I turned my attention to her parents, knowing the truth would unravel everything. They had always welcomed me with open arms, sharing meals and genuine smiles, making me feel like I belonged. But Emma, with her cruel whispers and hidden disdain, didn't deserve their kindness. I replayed the voicemail in my mind, her words cutting deep as she labeled them as nothing but failures. With a trembling hand, I crafted a message, a dark secret unveiled, and sent it off from a shadowy email, knowing it would change everything. I turned away from the chaos, but by 3 p.m., her message buzzed through my phone, a lifeline from yet another number. My parents had turned their backs on me, leaving me in a void. What's wrong with you? Her voice echoed in my mind, sharp and frantic, yet it ignited something within me, a spark of reclaiming the strength she had once taken. Her parents had always been her refuge, the place she sought when the world felt heavy. But now that sanctuary was crumbling. I threw my phone onto the couch, my heart racing as I pressed on. The car was the last straw, shattering everything in that moment. I had already pulled the plug on the payment, and the bank acted fast. She must have received the dreaded notice, the weight of late fees pressing down, repossession hanging over her like a storm cloud. By late afternoon, my phone was buzzing with her desperate calls again. The bank is coming for the car. You can't do this to me, she wrote, desperation lacing her words. Baby, please, I need the car for work. It's strange how her concern for work surfaced only now that it was slipping away. I stayed silent, my heart racing as I dialed the bank. The voice on the other end confirmed my worst fear. Just one more missed payment and they would come for it all. It would vanish by the week's end. That Mercedes was her heart's treasure, the symbol she flaunted to show she was above the rest, and now it was slipping away. I hung up, sank back in my chair, and released a heavy sigh. 3 years of supporting her, and now here she was, pleading for me to mend what she had shattered. As night fell, Emma spiraled deeper into chaos. The messages poured in, each more frantic than the one before. What have you done? Please, I was only teasing at the restaurant. You're tearing my world apart over something so trivial. She was desperate, using every tactic, anger, guilt, that false charm she once wielded to draw me back in. I devoured each word, my coffee forgotten and cold beside me. She believed her allure could weave its magic once more, but this time I was immune. I had caught a glimpse of her true self, the voice she reserved for the shadows, and I refused to be enchanted by her facade any longer. I remained silent, my only defense. It was maddening for her, and I could picture her there, restless and heartbroken, perhaps even shouting for support from those around her. But they would remain powerless to ease her pain. They had shared laughter at my expense. But when the roles reversed, They stood silent. She was isolated, and I was determined to make her feel the weight of it. The aftermath was unfolding, and I was only just beginning. By noon the next day, I felt the weight of her presence pressing down on me, and I knew it was time to sever the last ties to Emma. I began with her belongings, remnants of a love that felt both intoxicating and wrong. Clothes, shoes, those designer bags she adored. They littered my space like whispers of a past I couldn't quite escape. A silk scarf draped over the couch, a pair of heels abandoned by the door, and that bottle of her expensive perfume lingering in the bathroom. Each item a bittersweet reminder of what we had and what could never be. I once found it endearing, the way she seemed to fit into my world, but now it only ignited a fire within me. Each item was a painful reminder of how deeply she had woven herself into my life. I reached for the heavy black garbage bags hidden beneath the kitchen sink, the kind meant for the messiest of tasks, and began to gather everything up, my heart racing with every piece I discarded. No time for neatness, no thought for the consequences. Just a wild rush, my hands moving with a fierce urgency. A leather purse worth more than my rent? It slips into the bag, a thrill coursing through me. A pile of her alluring dresses, once worn to captivate others, now discarded and wrinkled. I felt a strange sense of relief. She had lost the worth I once placed in her. I rushed through the rooms, my heart racing as I gathered her things. Her makeup bag, filled with vibrant lipsticks and powders I had likely bought, was snatched up, clattering against borrowed sunglasses that would never find their way back. Under my bed, I discovered a box of her old photos, capturing smiles with faces she had likely betrayed. Without a second thought, I tossed it all away. The bags filled quickly, heavy with memories, and I pulled them to the front door, arranging them as if I were banishing her spirit. No farewells, no reasons, just absence. I lingered for a moment, heart racing, staring at the heap before me. 3 years of us, now just remnants of what once was, felt justified. She had tossed me aside, so why should I hold on to her things? I wiped my hands on my jeans, took a deep breath, and loaded the bags into my truck, feeling the weight of it all. I felt the weight of the moment as we drove, the silence heavy with unspoken words. The engine's hum was a reminder of the distance between us, while the rattle of her belongings in the back echoed the chaos of our hearts. I left the radio off, knowing that nothing could fill the void of what we were leaving behind. My mind felt sharp, as if I had just emerged from a haze that had clouded my thoughts for too long. The landfill loomed ahead, a chaotic blend of filth and decay, and as I arrived, the gatekeeper barely acknowledged my presence. I slipped him the $10, a silent agreement passing between us as I gestured toward the bags, a secret shared in the stillness of the moment. He gestured for me to come closer, and I slipped inside, parking beside a heap of forgotten things. I stepped out, grabbed the first bag from the truck bed, and tossed it away, watching it land with a dull thud, its seams giving way and releasing a few of her clothes into the dirt. My heart ached at the sight, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. Good. I seized the next one, then the next, hurling them with increasing force, captivated by their vanishing into the pile. Her perfume bottle tumbled from one, shattering against a rusty car door, the sharp scent intertwining with the decay surrounding me. I pushed through until every last piece was gone, my arms heavy and my shirt clinging to my skin. I stood there, hands on my hips, gazing at the chaos I had created. She was nothing to me, and now her remnants were finally in their rightful place. As the clock struck 6 p.m., my heart raced at the sight of an unknown number flashing on my phone. I let it ring, the truth lingering in the air. When the voicemail chimed in, I hesitated, then pressed play, drawn in by the familiar voice that stirred something deep within me. Emma's voice pierced through the silence, frantic and raw. "Where's my stuff? I went by your place and it's all gone. What did you do?" Her tears were evident, each word trembling with disbelief and desperation. I felt the weight of her panic, a storm of emotions swirling between us. With a heavy heart, I deleted the message, my finger lingering for just a moment on the button, Knowing the truth would shatter everything. She must have come to my apartment while I was gone, likely pounding on the door, hoping I would open it for her as I always had. But not this time. I had changed the locks that morning just to be safe, and I was done with her games. She reached out again, her voice echoing in my mind, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Her belongings had vanished, much like the trust one once held for her, discarded and forgotten. I made my way home, the truck feeling hollow, and sank into the couch, the cold beer in my hand a bitter reminder of what was lost. The apartment seemed to expand in her absence, a hushed emptiness enveloping me. My phone vibrated, a final message from her, "You're a monster." I read it, let it settle in my heart, then erased it. A monster? Perhaps, but she had crafted me into one, piece by piece, with each deceit, every chuckle at my expense. I had poured my soul into her, every moment, every penny, every beat of my heart, only to have it cast aside like it meant nothing. Now, as she faced the unraveling of her world, I felt no pity. She had chosen her path, and I had ensured she walked it alone, among the ruins she had created. In just a week, Emma's life shattered, and I stood by, a silent witness, feeling a strange sense of relief with each fragment that fell away. She was left with nothing. No job, no car, no savings, no refuge, and I had played a part in her unraveling. That morning, after I had discarded her belongings, James called, his voice soft and cautious, as if he were treading on fragile ground. "Hey man, Emma's been texting me non-stop," he said, concern lacing his voice. "She's pleading for me to reach out to you, says she feels lost." What's happening? I leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the coffee pot bubble, and shared the briefest version of the night at La Reverie. How she had shattered my heart, how I had turned her world upside down. He remained silent, absorbing her words, then let out a heavy sigh. She's my sister, after all, but she's been lost for so long. I finally told her to face her own demons this time. That was it. No words of wisdom, no heavy heart. James understood her like no one else, and even he chose to stand back, leaving her to face the storm alone. I thanked him, hung up, and poured my coffee, feeling the weight of another door closing on her. Her job was already lost. That email I had sent to her boss, her own words branding him a spineless creep, had sealed her fate. She had bombarded me with messages that first day, her words echoing with pain, accusing me of shattering her world. But silence had followed, a heavy stillness that suggested she had moved on, perhaps too consumed by the chaos of a job she never wanted. The car was destined to be the next casualty. The bank was ruthless. By Friday, I received the call that the Mercedes was gone. I could picture her there, on the curb, eyes blazing as she shouted at the man in the tow truck, desperate to make him understand, as if her words could somehow reverse the loss. She cherished that car more than she ever cherished me, and now it sat in a lot, waiting for a new owner. I felt no remorse. She had relied on me to hold on to it, whispered promises of repayment, but those words faded into silence. Let her find her own way without it. Savings? A distant dream. Emma had always danced on the edge, living from one paycheck to the next, even when she had one, spending it all on clothes, trips, anything that made her shine in the eyes of others. Once, in the warmth of shared takeout and whispered secrets, I glimpsed her bank app, $12 in checking, a credit card stretched thin. I covered her share, believing she'd find her way, but that day never arrived. Now, without a job or a car, she stood on the edge, with nothing left to hold on to. Her parents were out of the picture, and I had ensured that with the message I left. James later told me they had called her, seething, demanding to know how she could speak of them like that. She attempted to justify herself, he said, but they refused to listen. He said they were finished with her, that she was on her own now. I nodded, my gaze fixed on the bottle in my hand, feeling a bittersweet relief wash over me. She had scorched every connection, and I was the one who had given her the fire. As I pieced my life back together, I severed every tie that bound us, closing our shared accounts, ending the subscriptions she had pleaded for, and letting go of the gym membership she had never touched but I had kept alive. I called my landlord, changed the locks, and rearranged my furniture to reclaim my space. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, no longer waiting for her messages. The silence wrapped around me like a warm embrace, freeing me from the echoes of longing and heartache, leaving just me and my newfound solitude. I began to find solace in the quiet moments, my nights growing deeper and my meals more satisfying. A flicker of a smile crossed my face when I glimpsed my reflection, a hint of relief washing over me. It felt as if I had finally released a weight I'd been bearing for far too long. That Saturday, I ventured out with James, just the two of us, and we filled the air with laughter, avoiding the shadows of the past. Football, work, and that silly movie we both knew too well. It felt so ordinary, like I was finally alive, not just Emma's shadow. She was falling fast, and I stood by, watching, unable to intervene. James mentioned she was staying on a friend's couch, Noah's, that insufferable guy from the restaurant. But even that wouldn't hold for long. Her friends were the kind who would share laughter in her joy but vanish in her sorrow. She had pleaded with James to help, to mend things between us, but he had turned her away without a second thought. "You made your bed," he said, and I felt a surge of gratitude towards him. Emma was lost, with nothing to hold on to. No money, no car, no family, and no me. I had devoted years to keeping her from drowning, but now she was slipping away, quickly and quietly. As I sank into the silence of my couch that night, a strange sense of relief washed over me. I didn't miss her, not even a whisper of longing. She was fading, while I was finding my way, and somehow, that felt right. Yet, beneath it all, a flicker of something unspoken lingered, a bittersweet ache that reminded me of what we once shared. Months later, I found myself at the kitchen table, a bowl of cereal forgotten as I scrolled through my phone. Then, an email from Emma appeared, her name igniting a rush of emotions. Surprise mingled with an unsettling dread. I set the spoon aside, wiped my hands on my jeans, and opened the message, my heart racing with uncertainty. The message was brief, carelessly typed, as if she hadn't taken a moment to think. "I don't understand why you're putting me through this. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I believed you cared. I ache for you." That was all. No apologies, no true explanations. Just her words, tossed out like fragile paper boats on a stormy sea. I read her message once, then again, letting each line seep into my heart. The kitchen was still, the only sound the soft hum of the fridge. As I sat there, eyes glued to the screen, caught in a whirlwind of anger and an aching emptiness. She still didn't understand. After all that had happened, her laughter echoing in that restaurant, her reliance on me through the years, her losing everything, she still believed she could pull me back into her world with guilt. I leaned back in my chair, running a hand through my hair, lost in thoughts of how far I had come. The apartment felt like mine once more, pristine and untouched, devoid of her presence. A small raise at work had come my way recently, just enough to lift my spirits. I found myself venturing out more often, sharing laughs over beers with James or cheering for the team with my colleagues, no longer counting the moments for someone who would never return. My bank account was finally my own, no longer a lifeline for her, no more seeing my hard-earned money slip through her fingers. I had even taken up running, something I had always wanted to do. Each morning, I would step outside, the cold air biting at my skin, and with every stride, I felt a strength blossoming within me. Life wasn't flawless, but it was undeniably brighter, free from the weight of her presence. And there she was, appearing like a haunting memory, attempting to draw me back into her chaos with a few pitiful words. For a fleeting moment I considered responding. I could have poured out my heart, recounting the humiliation at La Reverie, the laughter of her friends echoing in my ears, the years I sacrificed for her dreams, while she whispered my failures to others. I could have revealed everything. The car, the job, the remnants of her life scattered in the landfill, how I had torn apart her world bit by bit because she had crossed a line. My fingers lingered above the keyboard, desperate to spill the truth, to make her understand the weight of her actions. But then I hesitated. What was the use? She never heard me. She never would. She'd turn it all against me, weeping about how I was the villain, how she was the one suffering in this tangled mess. I had witnessed it countless times, those haunting eyes brimming with unshed tears, that trembling voice pleading for my forgiveness, and I refused to let myself be ensnared once more. She had forfeited my words, my time, my heart. I had already given her too much. In a heartbeat, I let it go. I highlighted the email, pressed the trash button, and felt a pang as it vanished from my inbox, taking with it a piece of what could have been. No doubts, no regrets. Felt exhilarating, like washing away a secret. I lifted my spoon, savored another bite of cereal, and continued scrolling through the silly meme James had sent, a news headline that barely registered in my mind. Emma's message had vanished, and I refused to search for it. She could long for me all she wanted, but I felt nothing for her. Not the true her, the one who had stormed into that restaurant, harsh and reckless. Perhaps I had yearned for the illusion of her, back when I believed she was someone deserving of my heart. But that was in the past. I had learned my lesson, and I wouldn't let her pull me back in. I finished my breakfast, rinsed the bowl, and stepped outside for a run, my heart heavy with what could never be. The March air was sharp against my skin, the sky a muted gray, yet a flicker of light broke through. My footsteps echoed on the pavement, each beat a reminder of her email, her last desperate plea to reclaim what we once had. Did she truly not understand why I had to let go? Perhaps it was better this way. She never had to ask. I did it because she revealed her true self, and for the first time I believed in her completely. The words echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of a truth I had ignored for too long. Perhaps it was James or a scene from a forgotten film that whispered this lesson to me. When someone reveals their true self, trust it from the start. I had failed to heed that warning for 3 long years, but now, clarity pierced through the fog of my heart. I quickened my steps, my breath escaping in soft puffs, and with each stride, her presence slipped further away. She belonged to yesterday. I was forging ahead, and that was the moment everything changed.